Hi everyone, welcome to today's video where we're going to be looking at the poem The Fish by Elizabeth Bishop. As with all our videos, this is a quick revision video, so you'll have done this in class. We're just going to go over the poetic devices, the main themes of the poem, and just a summary of what the poem is about. Okay, as I read through it, I'll underline things and point out poetic devices and just have a little chat about the various different parts of the poem. Okay, so Elizabeth Bishop, as we know, just a bit of background, had a very tough childhood. Her father died. Her mother was institutionalized. She suffered from alcoholism. She had a tough time, and there were times when she was down, and there were times when she needed help. She needed a second chance, and I suppose that comes through in a lot of her poetry. So today we're going to look at the fish and see how it comes through in that. Okay, so she was a keen fisher, so she spent a lot of time fishing, and she wrote a poem, and this is what it was. Okay, so I caught a tremendous fish and held him beside the boat, half out of water, with my hook fast in a corner of his mouth. So very simple here. She's starting to tell a narrative. Okay, a lot of Bishop's poems is simply, like a lot of poems, she's telling a story. So she's creating the image there. So there's a fish, and he's half out of water, half at the side of the boat. There's a hook in the corner of his mouth. He didn't fight. He hadn't fought at all. The fish has given up. Okay, so there are times, I suppose, in life when we all give up. The fish has decided he's not fighting anymore. He's had enough. He hung a grunting weight, battered and venerable. Suggestion here that he's an old fish and in need of looking after. He's battered. There's a sense of her feeling sorry for him. Venerable and homely. Here and there his brown skin hung in strips like ancient wallpaper. Okay, so simile here, she's comparing the skin to ancient wallpaper. I suppose it would be like wallpaper in an old house. Okay, and its pattern of darker brown was like wallpaper. Okay, so the dark brown skin was like wallpaper again. So repeats the wallpaper and two similes. Shapes like full-blown roses, stained and lost through age. So the fish is very old, emphasizing or reinforcing the idea that this is an old fish. Okay. So he was speckled with barnacles, fine rosettes of lime, and infested with tiny white sea lice. Okay, quite disgusting imagery here. Okay, a sense that she's kind of a little bit disgusted by the fish. And underneath, 2 or 3 rags of green weed hung down. So there's weed hanging off him. While his gills were breathing in the terrible oxygen, the oxygen was killing him. Okay, that's why it's terrible. The frightening gills, fresh and crisp with blood, that can cut so badly. Okay, so there's blood. She's starting to see blood form. I thought of the coarse white flesh packed in like feathers. So the white flesh. So she's thinking of gutting the fish and the meat or within the fish to eat. The big bones and the little bones. The dramatic reds and blacks of his shiny entrails. Okay, she's thinking about the inside of the fish. Okay, and there's the reds and blacks. Okay, she's creating a kind of an image of colour there, the reds and the blacks, in contrast to maybe the brown that was there earlier. And the pink swim bladder like a big peony. Again, another simile. Okay, going on to page 3. I looked into his eyes. Now, it's important there. She's going to look into his eyes now. Things start to change. Which were far larger than mine, but shallower and yellowed. The iris is backed and packed with tarnished tinfoil, seen through the lenses of old scratched isinglass. Okay, he couldn't see very well. Okay, his eyes are shallow, they're yellow, they're packed with tarnished tinfoil. Okay, so it's like scratched isinglass. He's looking through her through scratched isinglass. They shifted a little, but not to return my stare. There's something kind of cool about the fish. He just doesn't care enough to return her stare. He's like, so what? I don't care. It was more like the tipping of an object toward the light. Now, I admired his sullen face. So he had a kind of a sullen, sulky type face. She admired it. The mechanism of his jaw. And then I saw that from his lower lip, if you could call it a lip, so it didn't look like a lip, okay? It had been destroyed, so it didn't look like a lip. Grim, wet and weapon-like hung 5 old pieces of fish line. Okay, this shows he was caught 5 times. So, We know he hadn't fought at the start, but we now know 5 times previously he was caught and got away. So she's now looking at this fish very differently. There's a respect building for this fish because he's a fighter, but he's not fighting this time, and she's intrigued by that. Fish line are 4 and a wire leader with a swivel still attached, with all their 5 big hooks growing firmly in his mouth, and it's showing it was quite a long time ago that he was caught because the skin has grown over the top of the hooks. So, a green line frayed at the end where he broke it. Okay, now he broke it. The fish broke. The fish had to break the line in order to survive. 2 heavier lines and a fine black thread, still crimped from the strain and snap when it broke and he got away. So, it shows how he got away. Okay, the strain and snap, he had to kind of snap back to snap the wire to get away. The strain and snap, okay, there's a bit of onomatopoeia there with the snap. You can hear the sound, and there's a bit of alliteration or sibilance with the S and S, okay? Like metals with their ribbons frayed and wavering. Now, we have another simile here, and it's really important. She's comparing the fish to a soldier with his medals. Now, soldiers wear medals to show the different wars that they were in, or the different acts that they have done throughout their career, and that they're worn with pride. And she's comparing these 5 hooks to medals. Basically, they're battles that he had and battles that he won. So with the ribbons frayed and wavering. A 5-haired beard of wisdom. Now this fish is a wise old fish. She's looking at him with a new sense of respect. And the 5-haired beard of wisdom trailing from his aching jaw. I stared and stared. So she's simply staring in wonder. She's amazed at this fish now. And victory filled up the little rented boat. Okay, victory, I suppose she's personifying victory there. It filled up the boat from the pool of bilge where oil had spread a rainbow. Now the oil, I'm sure you know, when the sun shines on oil, it creates a dramatic type of colouring. And she said it's like a rainbow. Around the rusted engine to the baler rusted orange. The sun cracked thwarts, the oarlocks on their strings, the gunnels, until everything was rainbow, rainbow, rainbow. Rainbow, sign of happiness. So everything was happy in the world. And I let the fish go. Okay. On the I let the fish go, victory filled up the boat. So what was victory? For Elizabeth Bishop, catching the fish was a victory. Why? Because he'd been caught 5 times before and got away. But also there's a sense of victory in that she caught him when others couldn't. But also when she sees the 5 medals, she starts to think of him in a different manner. Think about it in her life. There were times when she had to fight, and there were times when she gave up. So the fish had given up, and what did he need? He needed help, okay? He needed a helping hand, and that's what she's given him here. She's given him a second chance, okay? He may not want it. At times when people don't want a second chance, they're happy to die, but maybe all they need sometimes is someone to come along and be a helping hand. So the fish, he had a bad day, but she's given him a second chance. But the victory was in catching this fish that had never been caught. So she's happy, the fish is happy, the fish is back in the sea. Why did she put it back? Because there are times in life when people are down and they need a helping hand. So if you go back to her own biography, you'll know, and you'll be able to link that in. Very similar to the prodigal at the end of the prodigal, when he decides to go home. He decides to go home and ask for forgiveness. A hard thing to do, but he must do it. In this case, the fish isn't looking for help, but there are times when people in our lives, they mightn't ask for help, but we have to identify them and give them the help that they need. Okay, so that's just, if you're going through this for an essay, think about the similes and the metaphors that are used. The medals, with their ribbons frayed and wavering, how she compares the fish to a soldier, the skin being compared to wallpaper. Also notice the change in the tone of the poem from the beginning, when she was kind of disgusted a bit by the fish. The fish was old and battered, and until she sees a newfound respect. She sees the experience, or she sees the trials and tribulations that this fish has been through. So that's important. So then think of the themes: second chances, helping people when they're down and out, getting victories. A normal fisherman would get a victory by eating the fish she didn't need. Okay, all of that can be discussed. Again, any questions, contact me at the website www.endasEnglishNotes.com. Thank you.